All right, folks, welcome back to yet another episode of Fresh Juice, an indie game podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Tommy Fresh, and joined as always, it is
Maddie Juice. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. Welcome. It's me and Tommy at it again, talking about indie games. And what do we got on the docket today, Tommy?
Oh boy, we got a huge indie game that's really kind of blowing up the scene. Ball X Pit. We played it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to review it. It's an interesting one. I'm interested to see where you land on it. I have some thoughts. Is it as good as people are saying? Stick around and find out. And then we'll talk about some notable releases, some other news, and some listener questions and some recommendations, as we always do. Stick around for the end for those. But first, we got to catch up. How's it going? How's your week been?
Yeah, going pretty good, baby is babying. So there's been some later nights, but she's been sleeping pretty good, which is um been good once she gets to sleep. And yeah, I've also been enjoying some Arc Raiders, which I was gonna put as my rec room, but I've got something else in there. But Arc Raiders finally came out. I've been playing it solo. It's been awesome. I haven't put in as much time as I want to, but any sliver of time I have, I'm hopping in and playing. It's a really well-made game. I've been really enjoying it. So that's what's been taking up my free time, plus Slots and Daggers, which I know we talked a little bit about last week. Really awesome game, and of course playing some Ball X Pit as well. And then yeah, what did I do this weekend? Well, yesterday, today's Monday for those that don't know, uh we went to go see one of our buddies. His kid was playing some baseball, so got to watch that. That was definitely interesting and a fun time. And shout out to the, I don't want to say his name, the kid,
The
for
kid.
slugging it and doing great um, over there. But definitely an interesting scene at a Little League game to see the coaches trying to get the kids into the game, right? To the point where they're almost yelling at the kids of like, cheer for your teammate. And their kids are just kind of like in the dugout, I don't know, looking for 6-7 jokes, something. I don't know. But yeah, it was a good weekend overall. I don't think we did too much on Saturday this past weekend. Just kind of hung out at home, watched some TV, and yeah, just kind of chilling. So pretty uneventful few days. Back in the swing of things at work, which sucks, but is what it is. And yeah, that's about it for me. What have you been up to, Tommy?
Working a lot. I was working so hard last week, and it came time for Halloween on Friday, and I was like, I'm like out of it. I am not feeling too great. I am super tired, and I knew I had to work all day, like 12 hours on Saturday. So I was like, let's just relax. We only got two trick or treaters anyway, so
Yeah.
we relaxed. I went to sleep, and I was like, I just needed a ton of sleep. That was nice. Woke up, went down to Point Pleasant Beach, Jersey Shore, worked an event there for like 12 hours. It was all right. I don't know. Like there was two sessions. The first one was really busy. The second one was like dead. And you're just like, I'd rather the first one be dead and then the second one be busy because you're just waiting to go home.
Yeah.
Like during the second, you're just like,
Yeah.
well, you're just like, I'm walking around. One guy brought like his extra Halloween candy, so I was just slamming Halloween candy. So yeah, it was all right. They fed us, which was nice. They gave us a nice free buffet, which was cool. But yeah, that's what I did. Been playing some Slots and Daggers as well. I beat it, and that was awesome.
You
Was
beat it.
I beat it?
I gotta tell you, I'm having trouble with the Red Desert. I cannot get past the gunslinger because
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
slinging. He is just dealing damage to me past my shield. It's just we'll talk after the show.
I
Uh,
got
but
a
man, it's been
build.
rough.
I was like I was on one. I was like really on a really great build, and I think I like nailed the strategy, and I only needed one revive, which was nice.
Nice.
So you know, and that was I think the one revive I used on the final boss. But like Red Desert is like there's like five more areas you got to hit
I
before you
know,
end.
yeah. Because I was cruising through the first few, and then I get to there, and I'm like, I just can't get past this guy. Like, I
Hmm.
can beat everyone else. I've fought everyone else there, but whenever the gunslinger comes, I'm like unprepared for him. And
Yeah.
I've tried different builds, and I think what I need to do is head back to another area and just kind of get some of the chips so I can like start
Oh,
unlocking
sure.
more of the upgrades. I think that's kind of where I'm stuck right now. So I'm gonna try to do that. But props to
Yeah,
you, man. Yeah.
I start at the beginning every time.
Oh, you do? Okay. I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah.
hopping straight in to the last area I unlocked. Maybe that's my
Oh,
problem.
yeah. Well, it's because like you got to give yourself some time to like buy good like equipment and
Hmm.
stuff. Um,
That's true.
yeah, I did that too. I thought that maybe it would scale differently, but that it just seems like it's as hard as it's going to be when
Yeah.
you get there. So you're like, oh, okay. But yeah, been playing Slots and Daggers, played some Ball X Pit, played something last night that I will recommend later in the rec room. But other than that, it's just been hanging. I also went to that baseball game, which was cool as well. And then finally got the wife on my phone plan afterwards.
Oh,
You know,
nice.
she needed a new phone, much like you did. And I was like, you know what? Now is a good time to just do it. Just get over
Hmm.
there. Come on, come over to AT&T. So we did that, and yeah, everything else is just getting ready to move, packing a lot, and
Yeah.
just figuring out logistics. But we do have news. Did you hear the news?
I don't think I did. What's the news?
We have a Discord. Oh my
Whoa!
God,
Oh
the
my
Fresh Juice Discord.
God.
It's in the show notes below. You can definitely check it out. Come hang out with us. It's a good time over there. But other than that, some notable releases this week. The big one, Vampire Survivors Antichamber. Balatro is everywhere. You gotta love it. I'm not even exactly sure what the crossover is about. It's just like a gambling crossover. I don't. Do you know exactly what's happening with this?
I gotta tell you, the trailer is all over the place. I don't know
Hmm.
what's going on. I don't know if these numbers are in the game or if it's just an overlay, but it seems like there's like a Balatro level in Vampire Survivors. It's kind of
Mm.
see, and I guess abilities. I see bananas flying all over the place. I see planet cards. It seems like it's just a full on like Balatro themed level or something or stage in Vampire Survivors, which is just awesome.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to play it yet. I actually recently did do some co-op in Vampire Survivors, which just came out with our buddy Pat. We did a run of that, which was fun. But yeah, I'll have to try this out. I feel like it's about time that these two Goliaths in the indie game space have kind of collabed together. But this seems to be more of just on the Vampire Survivor side. I don't know. Oh no, there is Vampire Survivor stuff already in Balatro, right?
Yeah.
So
There's skins. Yeah.
okay, so obviously this looks like it took a lot more time to develop, but I'll have to check it out. But it does seem pretty cool. One thing I will say about Vampire Survivors, because I haven't played it in a while, other than the last time I played, which was co-op, a few days ago, I have missed so much with that. There is so much going on in that game. There's like cards and like all these characters. Like my buddy Pat he's like trying to pick a character before we start, and he's choosing. I can see him choosing all these different ones, and I'm like, "How many do you have?" And he's like, he took like a minute to like calculate how many characters he had, and I was like, "I have 5." I was like, I have not played enough apparently to unlock more characters. So it was a big kind of a big jump, from the
Yeah.
last time I played to the most recent time. But it was a good time, and I'll have to check out the Balatro update, of course.
Yeah. I'll have to hop into that as well, obviously. But good for Vampire Survivors. They're still cranking, just like years later. So, and obviously we love Balatro here, so that's cool to see. Next release is Escape Simulator 2.
Yes,
I don't
escapes.
think I played Escape Simulator 1.
Yeah, so I haven't played the first one either. I just saw like a lot of people talking about this. Very positive on Steam. Obviously it's like an escape room kind of game. And I've always just been interested in these sort of games. I've never I played like Escape Academy was another one that I played a little bit with my wife, but I haven't played this one, but this one seems pretty interesting. Always been interested in these kind of co-op escape room games. So I don't know if this is something I'd pick up now, but I do see it is 10% off on Steam. So yeah, I don't know, just a little shout out there. Another escape room game. And I think this is one of the bigger ones. If I know escape room games, so um, yeah, just saw people hyping it up a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know if this is a genre I'd be into, but hey, listen, if you like it, more power to you. I don't even know if I really like regular escape rooms in real life. To be honest, I've been to a couple and they're like fun, I guess, but I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
see
like
that's
eventually they have to just like call in and they're just like check the check the pillow or whatever.
yeah. Uh,
Oh.
see, that's the beauty of this is you could just quit and play something
Yeah,
else if you can't figure it
yeah,
out. You're not stuck in the room. Uh,
yeah.
but yeah,
But yeah, another game that just came out is Deck Tamer. This is I don't know if it's an early access or not, but
no.
no, it's full out. This is a deck building roguelike that's kind of like Pokemon, like like monster catcher kind of vibes. I haven't played it yet. It's definitely something that I'm considering picking up because it kind of like hits a lot of like the genres that I like. I
Hmm.
did see Northern Lion has a video out where he's playing it, so I'll probably watch that first to make a decision. But there seems to be a decent amount of hype around it, so I'm interested to see how good it is. Um, Not a huge fan of like the card design necessarily. It looks a little like like weird to me. I don't know why, but if it's fun, like right, like I'm not a huge fan of Slay the Spire's graphics, but that's an all time great. So
Yeah.
yeah, this song it might be checking this one out.
Yeah, I agree with you on the card design. It almost looks like it's like unfinished, but yeah, if the gameplay's fun, then doesn't really matter. But yeah, this is interesting. I love the name Deck Tamer. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I've noticed like I feel like more and more of these like monster catching kind of games are coming out too. Really ever since I feel like Pal World kind of like had this
Mm-hmm.
big I know there were ones obviously before that, Pokemon, Digimon, all that sort of stuff, but I feel like Pal World has kind of inspired a lot of like indie devs to try out something in the monster catching space, which is kind of cool. So fusing that with a deck builder is pretty interesting. And they got a free demo as well, so probably worth checking out. But yeah, cool stuff.
Yeah.
Cool stuff.
And then a game that's coming out probably I think by the time this episode's out is Tower Lords, another kind of idle resource management clicker game, but I just thought that this looked really cool, like graphics wise. That's why I kind of put it on the list. I mean, if you're watching the YouTube, I mean, like it does look awesome.
Yeah, it does.
like you're like you looked at the trailer, you're like, oh man, what's this game? And you're just like, oh, it's like an idle clicker, and you're like, oh, okay, well, maybe there's something more to it. So, um, I hope it's just not a waste of like really talented graphics here, but it's worth probably checking out if you like those things. We liked a lot of the clickers we've played so far,
Yeah.
so I can imagine us playing this at some point, especially if it starts getting some hype. But it looks so cool.
Dude, I gotta tell you, I'm in. All right. I'm
Yeah.
just in based on how it looks. And there's a play test going on right now. I'm gonna try to join that. And there's a demo too, but I'm in. I mean, this just looks awesome.
Yeah.
visually. Also, it seems like, I mean, like right here when I'm watching that trailer, it seems like there's like a decent amount of depth already in it,
Yeah.
where
More
like,
to it.
yeah, kind
Yeah.
of like a good amount of replayability, perhaps. Unlike, some other games, these clicker kind of games, once you do it once, you kind of understand, every sort of run. So I'm hoping, yeah, this one's got a good amount of variety to it, but definitely the art style's like right up my alley. This looks really cool. So, uh, yeah, we'll have to check this out for sure. And honestly, it's got me thinking like, you know, Lord of the Rings, like
Yeah.
this
Yeah. It
is
looks like
like
Sauron.
it's like everything about Lord of the Rings without saying Lord of the Rings, other than like the giant Godzilla sort of thing. But I mean, right? I mean, even the logo, has got you thinking. Like I'm thinking Sauron right there,
Yeah. Yeah.
for
That's
sure.
almost definitely Sauron.
Yeah. So
Right?
it's pretty cool. Yeah, I'll definitely add this to the wish list. Tower Lords.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw that one pop up. I was like, oh, wow. Yeah. Like, it looks pretty awesome. So I hope it's good. Now, you did put an article here about indie games breaking records, um, which like we've been pretty keyed into, like with just doing this podcast and seeing some huge releases and super like widespread recognition for some games,
Mhm.
but it's also like really kind of seeming to get a decent amount of the market share, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really exciting. And I think a lot of people, I've seen more people this year kind of recognize how impactful indies have been. And, we kind of talked about this, not to like keep patting our own back, but like with all the layoffs that were happening, right? Like towards the beginning of the year, we were kind of predicting, okay, those people are probably going to create indie studios, right? Or be a solo indie dev and come out with stuff. And we've just seen like banger after banger coming out. It's been like, I was even talking with some buddies of ours that they don't typically like they're not really tapped into like the indie space too much. Like if there's a game that comes out that's like just being talked about everywhere, they'll probably play it. But I've talked to them about how amazing this year has been just in terms of indies and releases, and they like fully agree. And here's a bunch of numbers that kind of back that up from this article. This is from 80 Levels, which the article is Indie Games Break Records, What to Expect Next from Anna Libricht. But essentially, the current market valuation for indies in 2025 is $4.85 billion, and by 2030 they're expecting that to be 9.55 billion. So that is, obviously an incredible growth. It's more than double where we're at right now. And just for kind of the scope of things, back in 2015, Steam only had like 1,900 indie titles released.
Hmm.
In 2024, 8,500 indie titles released. So
Crazy.
quite a large growth there. I imagine even more probably in 2025. We might have even already surpassed the 8,500. I'm not too sure, but a big factor in this is obviously like the accessibility. Game engines, development tools have just like the barriers are so low now that like anyone can really create a game. We can even talk about the AI side of things where that's probably helping out indie devs as well. But I think the majority of it is like, people manually building out these games with these resources that are just more easily accessible. Um, and there's also, I feel like there's also kind of been a movement of like bashing AAA, right? So people are starting to look more at indie in general as another
Hmm.
option because it's cheaper, because the it seems like the devs care more. They're not releasing unfinished games most of the time. And you can even see here that let's see, the triple I studios, so independents with AAA level budgets and teams, now account for 53% of all indie revenue,
Wow.
driving much of the overall market growth. So, these studios that we've talked about, like You might think Expedition 33 isn't an indie game because of the way it looks, right? But it is an indie game. So I feel like there's also a conversation that needs to be had of like, we're starting to really blur the lines between like what a AAA experience is and what an indie game experience is, to the point where like I think we talked about this last week or the week before. There was another article about um, maybe even classifying these indie games even further, right? So that like, we have proper categories just because the lines are getting blurred so much. So yeah, really exciting stuff here. The article goes into a lot more kind of detail about like annual growth numbers and things of that nature. But I think, the overall premise here is that indie games are growing at a crazy rate right now, and they're also getting fantastic reviews across the board. And obviously, we're talking about a game today, Ball X Pit, that's been getting a lot of love. Um, Published by Devolver, so one of those kind of AAA level budget studios. But yeah, just really interesting, really exciting stuff here. This is potentially a bubble that will pop at some point, but I think right now it's just really exciting in the indie space.
Yeah, and it's also kind of coming off the back of all the layoffs that we were seeing, right?
Hmm.
It felt like for a while there we would talk about layoffs every week, and we probably could have talked about some this month as well, or this past month. And, you know, that just means there's a lot of talent out there not being used by AAA. So, if they're also driven, they're going to come and try to make something themselves or lend themselves to these triple I studios. So
Yeah.
it's I think it's a net positive that this is kind of the response to those layoffs, but very very cool. Now
Yep.
you did mention Ball X Pit. We got to talk about this game. We got
Let's
to
do it.
review it. Ball X Pit, developed by Kenny Sun and Friends, published by Devolver Digital, as you mentioned. It's on Steam, Switch, Switch 2, PS5, and Xbox. Price is $14.99. Is it on sale on Steam right now, or
It is not currently on sale on
okay?
Steam, at least.
Um, yeah, it's not. But there are some bundles with some games that I'm sure a lot of you have. Ball X Pit is a brick breaking, ball fusing, base building survival roguelite. Let's see if we can get more more genres jammed into that.
Deck building,
Batter deck
turbocharged.
turbocharged survival um, with bullet hell elements. Now, batter hordes of enemies with ricocheting balls and gather the riches of the pit to expand your homestead, generate resources, and recruit unique heroes. So, hopping into this, it's pretty interesting, right? You are controlling a character. You'll choose a hero or you know champion, or I don't know what they refer to them in this. I guess they're just like
Just
characters.
character, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You'll choose a character. You start out with one that will have its own starting ball, right? And they'll have abilities, and you're going up this lane. It's gradually moving, scrolling up as you're battling enemies, hitting them with your special ball, and then the small balls as well that you're generating. Now, the interesting thing is your balls. We're going to say balls a lot in this episode, but the balls, you can catch them, right? And like once you catch them, you can throw them again. Now, you can just auto shoot here. That's what most people do. I think I would recommend that. But you have a certain amount of slots that you can have different kinds of special balls, and you will be able to pick them once you level up. You have these little experience nodes that kind of drop on the ground, or crystals or whatever. And once you level up, you'll get the classic roguelite three options. You can choose one of the three, or you can re-roll the shot by paying some money. And yeah, and at that, it would be kind of like the basic idea, but there's a twist here. So you're going to get new balls, right? And they're all going to have different abilities, whether it's like ice or fire or like life steal or something like that. And then you're going to get these like little spinning, like I guess like fission like pickups. So you'll grab that, and then you'll have the ability to level up stuff with that, or combine balls, or even like evolve them to create a new ball altogether. So if you combine them, right, it will be uh, basically a combination of both the abilities, right? If it was like fire and ice, it would have that. And then the evolution, though, will kind of generate something new, like
Mhm.
to you anyway. Like these are all unlockable things. And you will kind of like figure out what the recipes are for what these balls are as you play the game. Um, but that's like kind of what you're going through. You're trying to get to the end and beat the boss. There's going to be multiple different kinds of levels you can go to as you unlock different things. And on the runs, you can pick up resources like gold and some other resources to build stuff, which we'll talk about in a second, but also like blueprints, which will allow you to build new buildings. So once you get done a run, whether you beat it or you die, you'll go back to your base area where you have like a little city builder thing, and you'll build little places to you know, gather resources, because you're going to
Yeah.
do another kind of brick breaking thing where you send your guys out to kind of hit the different brick breaking, like, or your different resource areas, whether it's like wheat, woods, or like a certain building. Once it gets hit a certain amount of times, will give you all of your characters a buff, etc. There's a lot to actually play around with here, and that's kind of what you're doing. You're kind of meta progressing that way, and then going into these runs to gather more stuff, and you know, kind of also just like discover different builds and different ways to kind of go through this game
Yeah.
and do it. The gameplay for me, I like it, but there's like a weird caveat here. I think that like I I felt like the progression felt a little stagnant in the beginning. I felt like, man, I'm going through these runs, and it's like it's not slow paced, but it doesn't feel fast paced, right? It's just a
Mhm.
slow scrawl that you're kind of going through, and you know, I felt like the amount of time I was putting into the runs and what I was getting out of them just didn't feel like I was like progressing as much as I felt like I should have been, right? And then like you go back to the building area, that's not something I truly found interesting. Like, you know, it felt like you had to like build like your own level that like made sense. And I think a lot of people will like that, but it just wasn't there for me. I didn't kind of like how the resource gathering worked, right? When you're sending your guys around to bounce around and get the stuff. So while I like the actual runs themselves, there was something there missing for me with the gameplay that made me kind of want to continue to go back to this, right? And that's like what I expect out of this genre of game, roguelike games. Like I want to be like, oh wow, like I had a really good run. I want to hop back in. I
Mhm.
discovered something else. I got a nice buff, or I found a new character. For whatever reason, it wasn't really clicking for me to make me like really want to continue to do it. I would, because I was like, all right, maybe I'm just missing something here. Maybe I'm not in the mood. But after playing it, like, you know, for the past like 2 weeks, I felt like I wasn't, I was never having a lot of fun, right? So I think there is something here, and maybe if it was on mobile or something like that, I might change my tune about it. But it still didn't feel like as addicting as I thought it would be, right?
Mhm.
When I looked at this, because I expected to really like this. I came in like with like, you know, I was like a pre-bias. I was like, this is the kind of game I'll love, and by rights I should, but there's just something missing there for me. But yeah, I mean, there's some positives. I mean, it sounds like I'm going pretty hard on it, but it is fun, like when it is clicking. But there are some times when it feels like there's some unnecessarily friction with you and the game. Um,
Yeah.
before you can even get to the point where you're having fun. But that's my thoughts on the gameplay. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, so I also I came into this game with high hopes. Our buddy Pat, he's 100% of the game. Like I've been talking to him about it. He like loves it. Been playing on the Steam Deck and all that sort of stuff, which it is verified, I believe, on the Steam Deck, which is awesome. But I also found that this game, you know, being kind of marketed as the first thing in that description was brick breaking, right? So like when I think of brick breaker, I'm thinking of, okay, I'm going to like send out some balls at some point to like ricochet off of each other and really like get like these sick combos going, right? I mean, I know it's just brick breaker, but I kind of found that, in the first, I put in like a few hours into the game, the first like few worlds, I never really got to the point where like, oh, these balls are like bouncing all around and like I'm just like crushing it right now. Like there's always that point in like survivor likes, right? Where you just have like this incredible build or you just have this great combination that is just like destroying things at least for a certain period of time. And I never really found maybe just like a slight moment I had where I had like a holy laser, so I was able to combine two different lasers and I had like a really good burn and like lightning build kind of going on at the same time where I was like, okay, I'm like cleaning up here. I never really found that like I got like a brick breaking sort of experience. Like I felt like this was more of like Vampire Survivors, like narrowed down, like and meeting like Tetris, right? Where like
Mm-hmm.
I'm at the bottom of the screen and they're kind of like marching down. So I don't know. I just like when I hear brick breaking personally is like, I love like brick breaking style games. I've always kind of like enjoyed like killing time with it. I didn't really get that out of this game. I know like from a fundamental standpoint it is a brick breaking game. I just didn't get like the satisfaction of like a brick breaking game. And in terms of like the actual runs themselves, like I had a fine time with them. It gets to a point, especially like during you're watching like one of the first boss battle right here. This to me was like a lot less of like a brick breaking game and more of like I felt like I was like playing like like something like Cuphead where I'm like, okay, I just need to like dodge these like incoming like attacks and then I just keep like shooting ahead of myself. And I kind of wish like I don't know, I wish it just leaned a little bit more into the brick breaking side of things where I don't know, just really like sick combinations and I didn't like 100% the game, so I'm sure that there are some builds that are really like satisfying, but I agree. I feel like the beginning of the game was like almost like overwhelming where I was like, how am I gonna, like get past this part? And like you start, I unlocked like another character. That one felt a little bit better. And then you start to like understand a little bit of the fusions and the evolutions a little bit more. So you start to kind of like piece it together, but I kind of felt like it was like drip fed to me a little too slow, and I would like that to be a little bit quicker. Especially now we can talk about like outside of the runs, what you mentioned with the crafting side of things, where you're building. Let me see if I can pull that up in like the gameplay at some point. Here, but yeah, where you have to harvest weed and you're harvesting wood. I believe it's probably at some point in here. I don't know. We'll get to it at some point. But I also going into it, I was like, that's a really cool concept where like outside of my runs, I have to brick break and get resources to then build up my plots. And here you go. Here's I guess hopefully a little example of it right here, and I was like, that's kind of cool. It's like rather than it just being a basic menu. But the more I did it, the more I just wished it was just a menu where I could just upgrade things where I'm like, I need to worry about like where I'm placing these things, how am I going to bounce around and collect everything, because you only have a certain amount of time for those guys to collect stuff when you're bouncing them around. You can see right now, so if you have a bad bounce, you're just kind of screwed until after your next run, because you can only harvest in between runs one time, from what I experienced at least. Um so you know also, like, the fact that you can, like, build some buildings, and you mentioned this, where you build it, but you need to hit it a certain amount of times in order to, like, activate, I guess, the effect of it,
Mm-hmm.
where to me, I'm like, "Well, I'm already investing the resources in it. I should just have that unlocked." So, I think for me, the in between the runs was like a big letdown, because I just would rather, I appreciate them trying to innovate on, you know, upgrades, and, like, most games just have a basic menu. Okay, I'm going to invest these points in that, and I'm going to get back to my next run. So I appreciate them trying it, but for me, I just found it more of like just like exhausting, where I'm like, after a run, you're like really focused, right? Especially during the boss battles. I found like I'm pretty focused on not getting hit, because you don't really have like a ton of health, and it hits for a decent amount. So you're really like locked in. And I kind of felt like my brain was like a little bit fried sometimes after runs. And then I'd have to go and figure out, like, okay, where am I placing these things? And it just got to a point where I was like, I'm just putting this wherever, and like you can always move it if you want to. So if you kind of like, you know, try to get some wheat and you only get wood, you'll be like, all right, the next time I'm gonna just put all the wheat in the front, and I'm gonna just get the wheat. So I just kind of like got quickly over that whole like system where yeah, I just, it really sucks, because I was thinking this would be awesome. I'm like, oh, this is what a neat idea. But then actually doing it after every run, I just kind of felt like bored of it. But
Mm-hmm.
I will say, like, outside of like the harvesting side of things, the runs were interesting. I just want like more unlocks a lot quicker. I really like the fusion system, where you pick up the that kind of rainbow circular thing that you mentioned, where you can evolve or fission or fuse. Especially like the fission thing is really cool, because you can level up like multiple of your items at once. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. And then we'll talk about the art side of it, because I think that's really cool and like satisfying. um but uh I don't know, yeah, I kind of felt like this was just more of like just another survivor like, rather than like a brick breaking kind of vibe to it. I don't know. You get certain upgrades that are like, oh, it deals 20% more crit damage in the front when you hit them in the front, or on their left side or on their right side. But then sometimes these enemies are coming down, and it's not beneficial to what you had just picked, where you're like, oh, I can't even hit them on their left side. I just wasted an upgrade, because they're all like next to each other. And like, how am I gonna, it just was like, it almost had like too much difficulty, I guess, in the beginning. But there were runs I had that were fun. It just, yeah, I'm with you, where like I was going into this game really thinking it'd be like something special, and like it's fun. I'm having fun playing it and like doing another run, but it's not as addictive as I thought it would be.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about this a little bit outside of the show, but I just find myself being like, all right, I did a run of Ball X Pit. I'm going to Slots and Daggers. Like, and it almost
Yeah.
felt like that was a better break than actually going and doing the harvesting like mini game they have.
Mm-hmm.
Which, maybe it's my fault for getting both of them at the same time. I think it was a bundle actually. So, you talked about the bundles they had. But yeah, this is like a weird game for me, where like I see so much love around it, but it's not checking all the boxes for me, but it's
Mm-hmm.
definitely, from the gameplay side, like, still a good game, just not as good, not as addicting as I thought it would be.
Yeah, I think like the interesting thing about this game, right? Like you kind of mentioned the brick breaker thing. It's like really not computing. The only thing that I felt like was close to the brick breaking kind of like skill check, right? Because like there's a skill check in brick breaking is
Yeah.
catching the balls,
Yeah.
right? And that's something that like once I realized I should be doing that, like all right, like it's something I am focusing more on. It's not as satisfying as regular brick breaking,
Yeah.
you know?
And that's the thing too. You just mentioned like once you realize you should be doing I
Yeah.
feel like the game doesn't do a great job of making you realize you should be doing that.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much going on where you're like, how am I gonna catch all these things? You know?
Yeah.
I feel like they could do a better job of kind of like maybe you have like a little shield on your character or something where you're like bouncing it off or like something like that. So yeah, I agree. Like I didn't realize it at first in my first few runs that that was even like a mechanic in the game.
Yeah, yeah. And but like, beyond that, yeah, it didn't feel like brick breaking as much. You know what it really felt like to me was Space Invaders, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I think that's probably a close, which I love Space Invaders, but like I think I would prefer maybe a cleaner, attempt at whatever a Space Invaders roguelite would be. But yeah, it's interesting. But moving on to the story, there's no story, right? And don't think you really. I mean, like, there's a cool world they built here, right? With these like really neat, um, levels, which is also aesthetics, but like this like weird thing where you got like this city that kind of sinks in. It kind of reminds me of As We Descend, the game that we played
Hmm.
a couple months ago. But it has this like weird, like not not steampunk, but kind of like gear punk kind of vibe to it, where you're like, there's still industrial advancements, but it's still medieval. So, you know, it's a cool world. Don't really know a whole lot about it, but I appreciate that like it's not just whatever. Like, hey, here's just a brick breaker thing. Like they definitely wanted to kind of give it some flavor, which I appreciate, but I wasn't really expecting a lot of story from this.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like the idea that you're on this kind of city that's like sinking into the ground and you're going through all the levels is really cool. I appreciate that like in order to get to the next level, you actually have to like input parts into your city that can lower it further. So like I got 2 gears and it said I could upgrade my city and it sunk a little bit further. So I think that's like kind of cool, like tying that into like the gameplay side of things and like the story. But yeah, there's not really like a strong kind of story here. It did remind me of As We Descend as well, which I love that concept of like diving deeper in. Um, but yeah, there's not, like the characters I didn't really find like had like a strong like story behind them. I think the guy we're watching right now is the Itchy Finger. Is that him or is that a different one?
Yeah.
So some
Oh no,
interesting.
Itchy Finger
He's a different
comes with the
one.
fireball. I think
Okay,
this is
right.
the
Yes, he's got
first.
the fireball. Some interesting names there, um, things of that nature. But yeah, not really like a strong story here. But again, yeah, wasn't really looking for that. But talking about that where they tried something innovative in between the runs, right, where you have to harvest. Maybe I would have liked a little bit more story because I have to do something in between the runs and it's not just a menu and it's kind of this world, the city builder that you're building. Maybe I would have liked a little bit more maybe dialogue from characters of houses you put down or something like that could have made it a little bit more interesting. Or maybe just like instead of having to like hit a certain building a certain amount of times in that city builder mode in order to unlock a character, maybe there was a different way you can unlock that character that was kind of tied to the story, something like that. If that makes even sense to do that, but
Yeah.
they could have done maybe a little bit more there, but yeah,
Well, these
yeah,
character unlocks are tied to their building, right? You
right,
have to build their building to unlock the character. So like it could have fleshed it out a little bit more, right? I mean, like I don't think it needed it, but that would have been a good way to add some extra story to this. Like, boom, you build the building, a nice little like not like a cutscene, but like a like a Fire Emblem style like dialogue scene pops up with just some text and like
yeah,
the first guy talks to Itchy Finger about whatever and
yeah,
so but
yeah.
yeah
even like the in the first world, and we watched it earlier, like the boss, like the first time I saw the boss there, where it's just kind of this like skeleton that's kind of like crawling up. I was like, "Whoa, what is this thing?" I was almost thinking that there would be some sort of like introduction or dialogue, almost like in like a 33 Immortals kind of way, where you're like, you know, like, "Whoa, this is like, what is this thing?" But instead, it just kind of crawls up, and it doesn't really have like a lot of, you know, uh, like I know it's the Boneyard, so you kind of expect like a skeleton sort of boss, but I don't know. Yeah, they could have like added a little bit more into there, just because it does seem like a game that could benefit from a story like that. But yeah, is what it is, kind of thing. I'm not really knocking it for not having a story. It just it's like a would be nice kind of thing.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, visually, I think this is probably where it's going to shine the most. Um, I I think it looks great. There's some issues I had maybe with some like menus. Could have looked a little bit cleaner, but overall, it is a really cool looking game, right? I've never seen a game look like this. Like the way these different balls are kind of looking and moving around, and then like you get that awesome fission fusion thing that you pick up, and you get to see that little spinny
Yeah.
majig or whatever, and like get to like you kind of get excited to see what comes next. So I really like how it looks. The character design is pretty neat. Even the city itself does look cool, right? But I think some of the actual like menus kind of looked a little, I don't know, like a little bit boring compared to everything else. But that's a minor complaint. I still think this game looks great. Especially from level to level as well. So, not a lot of things to say here other than it's like, yeah, this was like kind of the shining moment for the game. And then with this, you know, the fusion thing is going to be what it's known for, right? Like when I think of this game, I will think about the fusion upgrade and that little like rainbow kind of spinny thing,
Yeah.
and you know what it like kind of like the excitement to see what the fusion or the evolution is going to be, so those are my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I would be extremely surprised if Ball X Pit announced a collaboration with maybe Baltro or another indie, and they didn't reveal it in the way of that fusion animation where it was like you see it and it's like and it shows like Baltro, right? You're like, oh my god. They're like, it shows like the Joker, right? Or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I would be very surprised because that is such a enticing, appealing animation in this game. We're watching it right now where when I was watching it, I was watching streams of it before I played. I was like, that looks awesome. It just looks really cool, looks very satisfying. But unfortunately for me, from the menu standpoint, that was really the only highlight. Like, I still don't understand why after you level up, it has to show you getting a random like stat attribute, and then you have to click continue to then choose one of the three options. That could easily be like condensed into one screen. I feel like we're at the point now where like roguelites, you know, after you level up, the first thing you see are the three options, right? You don't need to like click continue like we're seeing right now. I understand they want to show you your stats, but there's a lot of screen real estate I feel like they're wasting. And even like, um, there are certain things where like, especially when you like fuse two different like balls together, like you can actually see right now, you have to like scroll to like read the rest of it. Why isn't all of it just shown right there? It could easily be
Mm.
like if they, it's almost like they built this for console, which I know it is on console. Maybe that's the reason, but I kind of felt like I was like, I have to like, I don't know. It just seemed like a weird decision from like the art standpoint. But in terms of like the actual gameplay, I mean, it's awesome. I mean, like you can even see on the screen right now, kind of like the level bar and your health. You got that hat on top based on the character you're playing. You got a little gun holstered there, like you have your bullets. uh, that you'd be loading into the gun that are next to your level. Like it just really well done, like attention to detail. The levels are really cool. The enemies are really cool. Especially like, when you get to some of the bigger enemies, you're like, man, these things look awesome. Like you can even see kind of one of these like frost giant things that they just killed on the screen there. Even like the art standpoint from like the buttons you're clicking, like the little like instead of it saying like okay or something, it says like whoa or yeah, just like you saw like those little details, like that's fun, like that's kind of like, just gave me a little chuckle because I'm like, yeah, it didn't have to like say that. But yeah, from the art standpoint, I think this is really where the game shines as well. But I really, really think the menus and the level up menu is like needs to be overhauled because, obviously it still works, but I just feel like it just has um such a weird like layout. Like I don't why do I need to see my character on there? Like I know who I'm
Mhm.
like, right? I just kind of feel like there's wasted space. Like maybe this is me. I'm always trying to like think from like the design standpoint of like certain things. And maybe I'm just getting too into it, but I just feel like there could be a lot of improvement, and it could easily be updatable to the UI in the game and to like that whole experience of kind of leveling up. But everything outside of that, even like the city builder side, I mean, it looks great. Like it really is like satisfying to like place the objects down, place those plots down, like everything is great. But definitely the highlight is what we're seeing here is like that fusion fission evolution kind of like power up you get is like so unique to this game that if I saw anything else from this game outside of this game, I wouldn't be 100% that it was Ball X Pit. But if I saw that fission thing, I'd be like, that's Ball X Pit. So that's why I'd be surprised if they didn't use it in some marketing for like announcing a collaboration or something like that. It's
Mhm.
definitely really well done and a big, strong part of this game.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. And yeah, it would be like I could see, a lot of people love this game, and like, 4 or 5 years down the road or whatever, you see that pop up in like a showcase, and you're like, oh, we're getting it, we're
Yeah.
getting Ball X Pit 2. Yeah, I mean, like it's pretty unique, so very cool. Moving on to the sound and the music. Okay, I'll start with the sound. I think you're getting a lot of that dopamine hits here. A lot of it sounds great, especially when you do the evolution slash fusion slash fission. That sounds great. You're picking up things. Your balls bouncing around. It all sounds good. I didn't love the music, especially in the first area. I felt like it didn't really match like kind of what I was doing, right? Like just like tempo wise. And I think like um nailing the tempo for your gameplay is probably pretty important. So I felt like they kind of missed it, at least on the first area. I think like a couple of the other areas were fine, but the first one's like really stuck out to me because it was the one I was in the most because it's like you gotta like really, you know, grind a little bit in the beginning to like get the progression. So, um, didn't really love it, but everything else though, the actual like sound effects sounded awesome. I think it was just like exactly what I wanted out of this game. Right? It's just like the ding 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 ding, and like just the small little pickups, the
Yeah.
dopamine hits that we all love in these kinds of games. I enjoyed. But yeah, I think probably some like tempo rework or maybe a little bit more percussion. I think in the game, I can understand how it would be busy, but I think that you can do it like tastefully with the music. But that that was my takeaway with this. It didn't really distract from the game, to be honest. I just felt like there were moments I'd be like you'll clear a certain amount of enemies, right, and then you have some time with the music, and you're just like, I could use a little bit better of a soundtrack for this.
Yeah, I can understand that. I'm gonna just give a little sample to the listeners here. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it, Tom, but just a little sample. This is in the second world you unlock. I actually don't know if they heard any of that, so we might have just been quiet for a few seconds there. But that's okay. Hopefully you guys got a good kick out of that. But yeah, I'm with you where I actually thought, because I was kind of like, thinking of this almost, I mean, it's not really like Tetris because you're not matching up the pieces in order to get rid of rows, but I kind of thought that there'd be like more sound effects when like I had a big um like explosion, right? Or like I knocked out a bunch of enemies at once. It'd be like, really satisfying. But it didn't really happen kind of that way. I didn't hate the music at all. Like I think I'm probably like less critical of it than you. You're very like in tune with a lot of the sound in our games. Like for me, I was like, yeah, it's fine. I didn't really knock it in any way. I was just expecting more like dopamine hits when I was destroying things. And like, yeah, you get some sound effects with that, but I was kind of hoping just for like, I don't know, these like, oh man, I got a crazy build. I'm just gonna get like bam, 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 like these crazy like combos that would happen. And I think honestly, the thing I was like most into in terms of the sound is the fission kind of upgrade you get where like you can hit, it says like it can upgrade from like 1 to 5 things that you have or whatever. So sometimes you hit it and it's like, there's like a bunch of them that are popping up and I'm just like, yeah, like I just upgraded like all my items. So I thought that that was like a really satisfying kind of sound and just something that was fun. I think the sound is fine in the game. I definitely understand like where you're coming from and there could be like some improvements, but I was just kind of looking for like more kind of dopamine sort of hits with like a lot of the combos and things of that nature. But yeah, it's not definitely doesn't take away from the game at all. We've played games where like the sound is like a problem. It's not a
Yeah, yeah.
problem in this game for sure, but there could be improvements.
Yeah, I think that maybe it's a little bit of nitpicking, but like try. This is a pretty popular game already, so might as well just like kind of really look at it,
Yeah.
like try to understand and there also might be you mentioned it before during the gameplay, but like coming off of playing a decent amount of slots and daggers alongside this, like that might be the best sound design in a video game I've ever played. So like
Yeah, it's
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 like
it is a dopamine hit like
yeah, that
all the
is
time. Yeah.
it is amazing. So you're just like, holy smokes, like kind of coming back from that into this, you're like, oh man, it's like it's just not the same. But you know, people are playing other games all the time, so you can't really fault us for it. So,
Yeah.
but other than that, going on to the performance, I played this only on desktop and it performed just fine for me. I had no issues. Did you?
Yeah, I played on desktop and on Steam Deck. Ran perfectly fine on both. And like I mentioned, our buddy Pat 100%ed it. I'm pretty sure like exclusively on Steam Deck.
Mm-hmm.
So no issues there from a performance standpoint. Would love to see the game make its way to mobile at some point. I think I'd probably play a little bit more of it, um, especially Slots and Daggers. But that's another game. We'll love to see that on mobile. But
Yeah.
yeah, no performance issues at all, which is great for a game that has a lot going on with it. Man, I'm burping a lot. Has a lot going on with it, and yeah, no performance issues whatsoever.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Now let's move on to our review, our final rating. Our ratings are as follows. S tier is certified fresh juice. These are our best games ever. Balatro is one of them. I will say that. A steal. If in case you've never heard us talk about Balatro. After that is A tiers, a steal. These are games that are very good. Maybe not the greatest, but we definitely recommend them. Good deal, yada yada yada. And then after that, you got Get on Sale. These are games that are perhaps not perfect. They have some redeeming qualities, and we would recommend maybe waiting for them to go on sale, or perhaps a big update that kind of fix some issues. Just imperfect games, I would say. And then after that, we have Manager's Special. These are games that we didn't particularly enjoy, but we could see some merit there. if it was maybe free to play or it's a very specific genre that we're not into. And then finally, after that, is Spoiled Milk, which is a game that we do not recommend for anybody. I'll start
Go ahead,
with
Tommy.
Ball X Pit. I'm giving this a solid on sale. I think that this is a game for me that has imperfections. And like it's just hard for me to like because there's a world where I would have given this a steal, I think, right? But it's hard for me when I'm playing it and I don't want to play it anymore,
Mm.
to say that. Um, but that's not always the case. Like there have been times when I was playing it when I was like, oh, I'm having fun, but then like all of a sudden just like something would switch and like I'm not having fun anymore. So it's kind of like this weird intangible thing with this game where I think that they're doing a lot of right things and there's a lot of um stuff that is good that perhaps doesn't resonate with me as much. And I think a lot of people will and already do really like this game for that reason. But for me personally, I think it's a fair price, but it's an on sale in terms of quality for me. So Bollocks Pit.
Yeah, this was a tough one for me because I went between a steal and on sale, and I was like, I just don't know where I should land on it. But I ended up landing on a low steal for this one, just because I do think there is like I do have a want to kind of like play it again. But I also want to avoid like the in between runs as much as possible. So it's this weird like space I'm in where like I think this is a great game for the price. I think you get like most people will get like a lot of replayability out of it. But I'm just gonna give it a low steal. It's honestly on the border of like being on sale for me. So it's a tough one, but I landed on a low steal, and I'll just stick with that. I think the game has a lot going for it. I think if there were some really quality of life updates, I could see me being more like solidified in that steel category, but it's definitely not moving up to like a certified fresh juice for me just because of the in between runs experience. But yeah, I'm giving it a low steel, and I think anyone out there that likes survivor likes and wants something a little bit different would probably enjoy their time with this game.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fair, 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 fair. It's an interesting game. It's the
Yeah.
first one that we've been different on in a while, right?
I think so. Yeah. The last one we were different on was Tower Wizard. I gave it a steal. You gave it on sale. So it's
How
been a
about
minute.
that?
Yeah.
How about that? What's so we got to actually come up is so like let's say um you went certified fresh juice, I went steel. Combined, is that a certified steel? And then if it's
Ooh,
a what you were on a steel and I was on sale, is that a on steel? Um,
it's on steel, baby. It's on steel.
I,
Yeah. I don't
a
know.
spoiled steel. If one of us was a steel, the other one was spoiled
Yeah.
milk. That just never
Steel's on
happened.
sale. Yeah.
Steel's on sale, money's on sale.
Yeah.
Um, we'll have to workshop that. But
Yeah.
next week we'll be doing game talk. But we do have listener questions. These come from the Fresh Juice Discord, free for anybody to join. First listener question comes from Capolo, who asks, favorite animal to see at a zoo/aquarium.
So I always love seeing the sea turtles at the aquariums because I always feel like there's not a lot of them. There's like we went to the Georgia aquarium, which is like a huge one. There's only one sea turtle there, so I was like, that's cool. There's kind of this area with like floor to ceiling tank kind of situation, and that was really cool. At a zoo, I let's see. I like seeing the bears at a zoo, because like they're either like just asleep chilling or like they're out and about, and I'm like, and usually there's like a 2 foot fence between me and them. I'm like, they could just come over here. I like seeing the bears. Yeah, I don't know at a zoo, but Yeah, that's my answer. What about you, Tommy?
My favorite animal to see at the zoo and the aquarium. Actually, it's always at both. Every single zoo and aquarium I've ever been to, it's in the bathroom, and it's when I look in the mirror. And I'm like,
You're
man,
an
look at that
animal,
animal.
Tommy. You're an animal.
But seriously, I think probably octopus at the aquarium, and then I love otters when they're. I mean,
Oh,
those tend to be at aquariums and zoos. So, shout out to the otters. Those are pretty
yeah.
cool. River otter, sea otter. I also like if I don't think I've ever seen one. I would love to see a walrus.
Ooh, yeah. That'd
That'd
be
be
cool.
sick.
I always think of the 51st dates with the walrus, and I'm like, why have I never seen one at an aquarium? But
Yeah.
you know, I'm gonna change my zoo answer because the more I think about it, the more I realize how much I enjoy seeing these animals. Is just it's turtles again. Like I know,
Yeah.
like I remember going to we went to the DC Zoo, which is awesome. So many like turtles they have there. They got big tortoises and stuff, like smaller turtles that like they were just like colliding into each other at like the slowest pace. And then also it got to the point where like we're looking in this turtle thing, and like for those that don't know, like we have a pet turtle, and like Maria would be like, "Where are the turtles?" And I'm like, "They're right there." And like they're always just in the corner, just sitting there, you know? But like you never kind of, and it happened like 3 or 4 times where like they're just in the corner. So I like seeing the turtles as well as the bears, just because it's funny to see them kind of move at such a slow pace. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Nice. Nice. Um, Next question comes from our carp. This comes from a conversation we had when we were getting her a new phone the other day. Um, what? So, like, I'm an iPhone user. You are an Android user. You have the Google Pixel. You're
yeah.
a Google guy. Um, so I was, and this conversation came out. It's like, well, in the end, they all kind of shit because they just like stop working after a couple of years or whatever, and you got to get a new one, and blah 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 blah. This is operating. Well, I guess it's kind of a little bit of operating system included, but like operating system aside, what is one tech company that you that currently does not make phones that you would say I'm going to try their phone if they came out with one?
A tech company that doesn't make phones that I would try their phone if they came out with it. Um, that's an interesting one. The first thing that pops in my head is Tesla. Because they were rumored to be making a phone for some reason. At least that's what my mom told me, but I never found any like articles about it, so I don't know. She told me that, and I was like, "Oh, we'll see." Um, but just for like reference as well, like for the listeners, like I used to be like a big iPhone guy. The only reason I stopped getting them was just because of their price. I was just like, this is just they just kind of kept coming out with the same phone for a while. I know it's like kind of different now. They do have updates every year. I still watch the Apple events every year. Um, but I just switched over to Google, cheaper, the Pixel is like fine. It's like the iPhone of Android, basically. But as far as like a tech company, I mean, maybe like Nvidia could be cool if it was like a gaming phone, something like that. I definitely wouldn't buy like an Amazon phone,
Mm-mm.
anything like that. I mean, Microsoft has had phones. I probably wouldn't buy that. Yeah, I don't know. I guess those are my answers.
My answer was if Nintendo came out with a phone because I've always loved
Nintendo,
Nintendo's hardware, and you just know
but
there'd be something about it.
they wouldn't have phone numbers. You'd have to share your friend code with people. Be like,
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
call me.
in a way, a phone number is a friend code, actually. um,
That's
but
true.
like, think about like their hardware has always been impressive, and like it'd be kind of interesting to see what their OS would be like.
Yeah.
I think that was the one that yeah, or I said, our carp said, uh, Ninja, like
The
like
Blender Company?
the blender company.
came out with the phone. I mean, hey,
Yeah.
you never know. You never
I mean,
know.
that is it's nice hardware, so I get it. But
Yeah.
crock pot. Let's see.
Yeah, let's get that crock pot phone, dude.
Yeah,
Hell
yeah.
yeah.
But
Um,
yeah, I thought it was an interesting
yeah,
question.
it is for sure. And actually there is I just showed my wife this old phone concept from 2013 that like never came to fruition for obvious reasons, as I'll explain, but it was called like block phone or phone blocks. Essentially
Hmm.
what it was like a smartphone, but on the back were all these different blocks you could like attach to it. So if you were really into like photography, you could like put a bigger like camera block on the back of your phone. If you were like maybe an elderly person, you could put like a big speaker on the back. And it was kind of this like modular phone essentially, where the idea was that all these manufacturers, Samsung and Qualcomm and all them would like make parts for this phone, and then hopefully you'd buy their parts and like you could just attach it on there, and it would kind of be like a phone where you would never need another phone. Where if it got really slow, you could just swap out the CPU on the phone. It was like a really cool concept, and I remember seeing it when it was announced, and it just never never came to fruition because companies are greedy and they wouldn't want to do something like that. Plus, it's probably like an inventory nightmare, but um, really cool idea, and that would be like my dream phone is like one that you could just easily it'd be like having a PC, right? You could just upgrade the parts to, and then you wouldn't have to worry about it. So that's the tech company I want to make a phone, Tom, is the one that
Let's,
can do that.
let's get on it.
The
We'll do
fresh
it.
juice phone.
The fresh juice for we're a tech company. And then one more question we have is from K Moore. Are you more of a melee build or range build kind of person when playing a game?
I find myself more of a range build, because I recognize that I'm not the best when it comes to like you know, entering an area first, if I'm in like a squad or like I'm not the best combat person, but I like supporting. So if I can like be a range build, whether it's healing or just shooting arrows or something, I'm happy to do that, as part of a group. So I tend to lean more that way.
Um, yeah, I think I saw that one coming for you. I think I am more of a melee build, not because I'm good at it. So I think looking back into high school when I was ran cross country, I was the quote unquote rabbit. So I would sprint out as fast as I could at the beginning of a race to try to like draw out the other team's runners to be like, oh my God, we got to really go fast. It rarely worked, but that's what I like to do. Like kind of like a berserker style, like, like whatever. I'll die. Like I
Yeah.
won't do well, but I'll go in and I'll just be like, I'll get in some hits and some damage. So that's always what I like to do.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
want a tank, but then end up not being a tank. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. It's tough being a tank. Cause I'm like, I don't want to get hit, I don't know, but that's kind of the job, take some hits.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But those are the listener questions. Moving on to the rec room and then saying goodbye. The rec room is where we recommend something that perhaps isn't a video game, but maybe one of us is recommending a video game this week. But it's not me. What are you recommending?
I'm recommending a TV show that's only currently 2 episodes in. It is from HBO, I believe. It's called It Welcome to Derry. It is a prequel to the It films from a few years ago, and obviously based on like Stephen King's novel. And I enjoyed the It films, with Pennywise and everything. I thought they were good, but I gotta tell you, this show is sticking in my head with some of the things they've done where like the
Oh,
first 2 episodes I'm like, holy hell, like this is twisted. This is like I am thinking about these things constantly as I'm like walking around my house. I'm like, that was so messed up. So I really enjoyed the first 2 episodes. I don't know if it's going to hold through to the end of the season, but essentially the premise, so far it seems, is like these are the origins, or not really maybe the origins of Pennywise. There and kind of like it seems like the first kids he's kind of like torturing, I guess, in a way, or like, just instilling fear into. But some of the things he does to these kids, I'm like, I would never sleep again if these things happen. Like, it is, I feel like it's way more gruesome than anything in the It movies. So yeah, It, Welcome to Derry. If you're interested in like kind of like supernatural horror, it's been fun. The first two episodes, like the first episode, I was like, wow, did not expect it to be that good. Second episode, I was like, this is just these poor kids. Is all I'm thinking. But it's been a fun watch. So I'm usually not into horror stuff as well, but I don't know, Stephen King stuff. I watched like Castle Rock and like some other things he's been involved with. And I've enjoyed them. So yeah, check it out. It, Welcome to Derry.
I do want to watch that for sure because I do like the films. And is Bill Skarsgård's back as Pennywise, right?
So I have no idea because Pennywise is not an adult yet.
Oh, okay.
In what we've seen, it's like a little thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right.
So I don't know, but probably I would imagine if it gets to that point, he would be back. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, definitely want to check that out. I'm recommending a demo for an indie game. I watched a YouTuber that I like to watch, Retromation, play it. It's called Moon Sigil Atlas. It's a deck builder roguelike, but it's doing something really interesting where your cards are shapes that you're kind of placing in like this constellation thing, and the different shapes like will do damage, but it's doing something fresh with the genre that I find very exciting. So I'm excited for the full release. I started playing the demo and I was like really impressed. So I'm excited to continue to play it. I would recommend checking it out. It looks cool, and if you kind of like those deck builder, like Slay the Spire style games, I think this is probably going to be a big one to come out. So yeah, Moon Sigil Atlas.
Nice. Yeah, I remember you showed this to me, and it does look really cool. I always appreciate like devs trying to innovate on like a genre that's had so many games in it. And it even says in
Hmm.
the description of the game, create overpowered combos to break the game. So that's always fun, where it seems
Yeah,
like some of the builds will be really satisfying. So yeah, I'll have to check it out.
yeah. But that's gonna do it for the show. Everybody, you can find me on mostly Blue Sky at Fresh Buds Pod. I have another podcast called Fresh and Buds. This week, I have Pro Tour winner Arthur Trehay coming on the show. Already recorded it, actually. It was a lot of fun. And then you can find us on all socials at Fresh Juice Pod. And Matthew, where can people find you?
Find me at Matty Gorm, Gorm, on all the socials. Actually, by the time this comes out, I have an hour-long video coming out on my YouTube channel that is a first look at a new survival game called The Last Caretaker, which was a lot of fun. I actually talked about it when we went to PAX. I got a little preview of it and was able to get an early access preview of it, and it's a really cool game. So feel free to check that out on my YouTube at Matty Gorm, Gorm.
I think that's it, folks.
Yeah.
Next week, same time. See you then.